Hello there, welcome back to another chapter review of One Piece 989. This is based on spoilers, so please be aware some of the translation and some of the wording that I make reference to will probably be not 100% accurate and can change the tone and the hyping weight-wise of a particular scene or action. I'm purely going to base it on the general gist of what is going on. If there's anything crazily different, I'll mention it in the next week's chapter. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So, the chapter had its moments, it had its funny moments, it had its shocking moments, it had its plot convenience moments. It had a beautiful third last panel, quite a decent panel there. It was good. And a lot happens, and there's sneaky revelations and different things going on that you just gotta expect from the creator of One Piece. The little layers upon layers upon layers is just something else. So I want to get through some of this. If I do look away, I've got notes because there's that much going on in such small panels. But the most important thing of all of this is there's One Piece next week, there's no break. So barring any catastrophes, we should have it next week. So there's not much of a wait. Fingers crossed. So let's kind of get into the funny bits that I found. So some of the funny bits. So one of the funny bits was when Luffy is telling Shinobu and Momo that this person's okay. They're coming to help you. And he's like, well, of course, I'm Odin. And they're like, what? And that whole face, that shocked face, just made me giggle. I was having a bit of a chuckle to myself. There's a scene with the Brachio tank where we get a view in the actual tank. And you'll understand why it's funny for me. Is you see Usopp all over the place. And there's a docking scene for Frankie, and he's like, you're not convincing me that this isn't a two-seater, it's not just a one-seater, but okay, let's dock. So those little scenes made me laugh in this chapter, but there's actually quite a bit in there that I wanted to cover. So one thing that was interesting was Higoro. Obviously he's an old man, he's not what he used to be. Him and his companions are basically making the decision to go off the Tobiropo because there's so many people that are like essentially the riffraff, the filler, the not important people, the side characters, you could say, the side characters. They're all drunk, they're all rowdy, they're not really that powerful. They just take up a lot of time. There's too many bodies in that space, and essentially what they want to do is they want to take them down as quick, cause as much significant damage to the opposition before they get taken down themselves, which in this case, they want to target the Tobiropo, which in the war seems like a good idea if they can get to Tobiropo. We don't really see much of them this chapter, but with Ulti in page 1 lurking around somewhere, I'm sure they'll crop up either next chapter or the chapter after. So that was interesting. The other bits I wanted to kind of touch on. So first thing I want to touch on is the plot convenience of this chapter, how they get rid of Big Mom. So as previously, we see the aftermath of the attack that Frankie did with his motorbike, and he's basically nonchalant about the whole thing. He doesn't care. Frankie is for me the MVP of this chapter, as well as in a close second Robin and Jinbei, because the way they just deal with Big Mom is just hilarious. He's like, you old hag, I don't care, da 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 da. It's beautiful for them not to care, them not to be scared that she is a Yonko. So basically, Big Mom gets up, she's going to get involved in the fight, and Jinbei does his fishman karate. Robin helps out with her devil fruit, and they send her rolling, and she's bawling. And I just love that whole scene because it shows teamwork can get rid of her from a plot convenience point of view, getting her out of the way in a disrespectful way, but not completely diminishing her powers, because they're not beating her, they're kind of like pushing her to the side, out of the way, just so when she does come back, they mention it, she's going to be angrier, she's going to be more destructive and dangerous, and be ready for it. So that kind of Oda's saying to the audience in this way that yes, I know she'll be back soon, look out for it, it's going to be dramatic, I'm hoping. So that was interesting. What I loved in this scene, there's always somewhere this scene happens, at different points in different arcs in the series, where different members of the Straw Hat crew make that proclamation that Luffy is going to become the Pirate King. They're like, oh my god, you've done it, you've angered a Yonko, you should be careful. And she's like, no, you're misunderstanding. We've got nothing to be afraid of when our captain is going to become the Pirate King. And I love those scenes. Every time it comes up, when Usopp said it in Alabasta, with his nose all crooked and bent and everything else. Those scenes for me, I just love them. The fact that Jinbei said it in the Whole Cake Island arc when he says, why would I be afraid of a Yonko when my captain is going to become the Pirate King? I just love those scenes there. Brilliant. So then we also get some more information before Big Mom disappears about these member of the numbers. So we see 3. Now it might be a translation thing, but I'd grasp that one of them was number 4. He gets taken out by Radical Beam, so go Frankie. One of them appears to be number 5, and the last one, because it's not necessarily the numbering system, and it could be in another use of the numbering system. I'm not sure if that's meant to be 9 or 10, because based on I believe it was last chapter, it was number 8. So is that 4, 5, 8, and 10 that we've seen so far? Or is that meant to be 9? I'm not sure. I'll have to wait for the translation to clarify. But yeah, so we see 3 of the numbers. One of them gets taken out. Now, it's important to bear in mind that these numbers are basically all drunk off the red, so they're not really fighting at full powers, you could say. They're kind of diminished a little bit, which helps from a convenience point of view to deal with them. But the most important thing we find out about them, that they're actually failed experiments from Punk Hazard, and they were trying to recreate the ancient giant race. And they refer to the ancient giant race when they say, oh, it's like Thriller Bark, it's like Oz. But this is also going to show the development, because before it took the whole team to basically deal with Oz, before in Thriller Bark, now Frankie's dealt with one by using his Radical Beam. So it shows their development as individual characters. So hopefully we can get these people dealt with, and to be fair, it's no surprise that the Radical Beam has done that, because if you think back to Punk Hazard when he used his laser to cut through the ship, that was like an impressive thing, an impressive feat. So that's just a good section of that. Then what happens after that is Luffy sees this opportunity now that Big Mom's taken care of, Momo's with Yamato and Shinobu, that the pieces of the puzzle start moving, and he wants to go up and basically help defeat Kaido. So as he's on his way up, he runs into Zoro, who's not far from Queen, and they try going no more up there, and Queen tries stopping him, and then we see Kings there as well with a crew of flying Devil Fruit users. Eventually they get knocked down, and then we get to witness this brilliant panel of all the Straw Hats ready to fight. And again, another proclamation which basically says, listen, I'm going up there to kick Kaido's behind, you watch my back. And I think this will perfectly set up then the fights between King and Queen and the different members of the crew, whether it's going to be double team, I'm not sure, or whether it's going to be Zoro versus King, Sanji versus Queen, like we originally thought. Jack's up there as well, so how is that going to get dealt with? I know the Minks are up there and they're going to go so long, but it's an interesting tidbit to consider. And also, just throwing out there, I'm not really a fan of the cover story, but Pound pulls out a medallion, a necklace with a picture inside it that shows them as babies. I don't know where that's going to go, but it's dragging on a bit, so I'm not really that interested in it. That being said, we're not taking a break next week, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen next. So there's a lot to digest. I'm sure there's going to be clarification with the official release on Sunday, 5 p.m. UK time. So hopefully that will kind of clarify a few things for me for next week's chapter. So until then, I must bid you adieu. Take care. Peace.